I think my biggest aha in co-parenting was that it wasn't my way, it was our way.
Remember that you're showing your kids how to be a human being, you know, so you treat your ex is the way that you are treating the rest of the world in their eyes.
What is it that I really want to create here? I want to create a union. I want to create a 10 co-parenting friendship so that my children, our children, can feel loved, heard, and valued. Yeah.
Oh, co-parenting.
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 Ladies, thank you for joining. Thank you for coming to the show. I appreciate you. You're beautiful. I love you. I appreciate you as women, as mothers, and I just love what you can share because I've seen what you've done with your children, and they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human beings. So thank you. So I just had a number of questions, and I thought that we would just share, you know, like your biggest aha that you had with co-parenting, because I think it's so, you know, divorce rates are so high, separation rates are so high, and I think that sharing, you know, what was your biggest aha that had you do something different?
You know, 10 years it's been since I've been divorced. The biggest aha for me is that if your ex does something to trigger you, that's there to heal you. So it's not about them at all. When you realize that this whole big journey is part of your healing and growing as a parent, the more you make it less about what they're doing, you know? So I think my biggest aha.
Brilliant. Awesome.
Peace.
I think my biggest aha in co-parenting was that it wasn't my way, it was our way. We had to come up with a way to parent together versus, because I'm really not the strict one and he was. And so we had to come to the middle to figure out what worked for the both of us so that neither one of us felt not heard, especially while parenting, because kids love to divide and conquer. So that was one of the things that did work. One of the things that didn't work was not being on the same page. They absolutely exploited that.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to ask, so that women who are watching this, men for that matter, you know, what worked, what didn't work for you? Because based on results, what did work was that, you know, you guys have amazing children. I mean, they're just amazing human beings in this world. So thank you for that. So Alicia, I'd love to know what for you, what worked and what didn't work in your co-parenting journey.
Yeah, so definitely what does not work is saying anything negative about your ex around your kids at all. That is like a major, major no-no. When we first got divorced, I think my ex was a little bit resentful, and so it was just for a split second, but then we both course corrected and realized that like this is just gonna put them through the mill, because like he grew up in divorce, so for him putting the kids in the middle of it turns them into have to be being the parent, so that's never really works out. You know, always remember that you're showing your kids how to be a human being, you know, so you treat your ex is the way that you're treating the rest of the world in their eyes. So
Yeah. I know for me, what worked was just doing the internal work on myself.
yeah.
Finding those things that constantly being in that, you know, either leadership programs or transformational programs or, you know, classes that had me look inside, find out what was stopping me or find out what my biggest fears were, you know, so that I could then show up with more patience, and specifically more patience with my ex, because you know, we're two really, really, really powerful women. And it was like, you know, at times it was like two rams, like boom, coming together, and you could hear for 2 miles away. So, you know, me stopping and focusing on what is it that I really want to create here? I want to create a union. I want to create a 10 co-parenting friendship so that my children, our children, can feel loved, heard, and valued. Yeah. And then, you know, create some kind of bridge of friendship and union with my ex. So then it spills over into the kids. What didn't work was, if anything was my issue, it would be anger, and learning to just quiet that voice so that I could just be calm and patient and, you know, not come with anger all the time. So that was a huge adjustment for me. And it didn't work when I didn't, you know, keep an eye on it, because it just doesn't work.
My situation was a little different because the kid's dad was not on board with co-parenting. If anything, he wanted to divide and conquer. He didn't like, he was just nasty, and he was upset. You know, he had lost control of, you know, who we were as parents together because I left him. So my current husband and I had to figure out a way, you know, figure out what worked for us first, and then create like this safe space for these kids, because whenever they would come home from dad's house, it was like, you know, erasing the last 3 days off of them. Yeah. So it was extra hard for us. However, I think because my current husband and I work together so well, like with discipline, with schedules, like they were on a schedule and they loved that and they could count on that. I think they felt somehow safe in the schedule, right? And in the consistency. So I think consistency definitely worked for them, and having two parents that were consistent in everything. And so anytime they would go to dad's and there was like chaos, they knew they could, when they came home, that there was a stable environment for them. So obviously what didn't work was that their dad and I couldn't see eye to eye on anything, but that Ryan and I were able to just say, okay, cut out all the noise. When they're here, they're safe, and create that safe space. And even before Ryan came into the picture, that's exactly what worked for my kids. Was even though everything was chaotic, they had a schedule, and you know, they knew that they came to mom's these days, and we did homework at a certain time, we ate at a certain time. And then when they went to their dad's, like they pretty much lived out of hotels, and you know, it was bad. And so they looked forward to coming home. So yeah, definitely crazy.
Great.
But they're alive. They're great. We do the
More
best
than
that we
alive. They're
can.
amazing. They're amazing human beings. Yeah. So Alicia, what was your biggest lesson?
So one of my biggest lessons, I think, was, you know, we are going to be in events and situations where we're going to have to be with our ex and stuff. So for us, we have decided to have that be a friendship. Like when I've been in relationships, I will not allow the relationship to badmouth my ex at all, because I feel like that takes away from my parenting with my kids. And so I think that was a huge for me. And I've stood strong in that because, you know, it's a working friendship. You know, we've got these kids until they at least for college. And who wants to have the kids that have that awkward wedding where nobody wants to sit at the same side of the room or whatever. Another thing was when I went to therapy after my divorce, my therapist said, your life is like a movie. What do you want on the screen? And I really feel that we have the opportunity to have not only a great life with our kids, but an extraordinary life with our kids. You know, if we're willing to put in the work to see things more from the eyes of love and not assume things about our ex and stuff. So, yeah.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And I wish I would have had that information 15 years ago.
No,
But,
right.
Oh man, I did the best that I could. And we did have those awkward, you know, graduations. Not, you know, we're all civil, but they were awkward. And again, like I did the best that I could with what I knew and not bad mouthing, you know, him. So the biggest lesson for me that I learned was just that, not buying into my ex's tantrum almost, because at the end of the day, my kid was at risk. My kids were at risk. And so it was hard not to badmouth him. And, you know, as much as I remember thinking, God, I just want to, I didn't. And the result is they don't remember me saying bad things, you know, and they remember other things, you know, him saying bad things. So, and now it's, you know, fine. We would actually, today's my middle one's birthday. Today's Kevin's 22nd birthday. And we were able to go to breakfast this morning, which hasn't, yeah.
So awesome.
Absolutely. And, you know, to be able to do that after everything that man put me through, I was like, wow, okay, you know, this is good. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would say for me, the biggest lesson was when I realized how important it was and how committed I was to have a 10 co-parenting friendship. Like I still am so committed to it. Like I'm more committed to that because I know from that will create just a more loving environment for our kids. So I know for me, like we come from this place, the three of us do, where we write down our goals and we write down our vision for our life. And mine is, I can vision it. I can picture. And I remember seeing this with actually J-Lo. There she is with A-Rod, and then there Mark Anthony is with his family, and they have this family together. And I'm like, that's so fucking beautiful. And so I know for me, just holding that in my mind, that is my anchor thought of seeing our two families happily together and coexisting together. And it all is the foundation of a 10 co-parenting friendship with my ex. So that was like my biggest lesson and biggest aha.